You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
That's right, everybody. We are live.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
For you, we have a lot of conversations.
We do. We talk a lot.
A lot of times it's just for us.
Some of us more than others.
Well, some of us, yeah. I'm way too much. We have conversations on golf courses. We have conversations everywhere, man. And
yeah, recently we've been talking about my thin wallet. I've been trying to get a thick one, but it's been very thin. You know, it's one of those Ridge wallets that it doesn't hold a lot of cash. And we wanted to do something about that. We want to have a conversation about how to make it bigger.
You know, man, we're
talking about wallets.
Easy,
talking about wallets, bank accounts.
You know, I think our philosophy on here is that men are like the tide, and when the tide comes in, all boats rise. And so we're about healthy masculinity. And when men are better, women are better, families are better, kids are better, communities are better, churches together, golf courses are better.
Yeah, because you fix your ball marks.
Exactly.
You fix your ball marks.
And your divots and all that kind of stuff. So when men are better, everybody's better. And one of the ways that men can be better is, like you just said, man, in our wallets, man.
Especially nowadays, you gotta be financially stable. You got to know your tax things. I think it's one of the things that gets us most of the time is that most of us have zero to no tax education.
And this is one of the things that we don't talk about a lot. Even, I mean, you know, we've had a lot of conversations on golf courses, right? And just in other settings. And one of the things that people, and specifically men, you know, don't sit around and yuck in the golf cart about money and like taxes and all this other kind of stuff. And we all, you know, what they say, a couple things are for certain: death and taxes, right? And so
they treat it like religion and politics. Like we don't want to talk about it, and we wonder why maybe we're struggling because we're not talking about it. We're not educating ourselves or learning from those who know better.
So we got a guest in studio.
Speaking of those who know better.
Speaking of,
who is this guy?
This guy, man. Let me tell you something. I'm gonna say known, but do you really know like certain people in your life? But I've known or had interactions. This guy has been part of my life probably for close to a decade, right? Like, do you really know? Probably close to a decade at this point. And so I say, do you really know? Do you really know? Because, you know, it's like once a year, normally we interact. This is my tax guy.
Oh,
this is my tax guy, Mr. Brett Ohlen. How you doing, sir?
How you doing, Kirk?
Man, fantastic.
Thank
It's been almost a decade. Like, do you really? I mean, you could probably go straight back. Like,
literally 10 years.
Has it?
That is this fall. We met 10 years ago.
Nice.
He's got proof. He's got
he's got proof.
He's got records.
He's got proof, man. He knows all my where the phones are buried and all that. He knows all that kind of stuff, man. And so yeah, man. You know, again, you do a lot of things. Obviously, I mean, you're an accountant, but then you also do other things with money and finances and investments and all that kind of stuff. And we may be getting into some of that, maybe not, but specifically here today, just talking about men and money and taxes and all these other kind of things, man. So first of all, share with us a little bit about just your background, professionally speaking, and as much personal as you want, but who are you?
Well, I am Brett Ohlen. I'm a part owner in Advocate Tax Worldwide. We are a tax and investment business, and we provide full service accounting, everything from bookkeeping, all the way through payroll, tax preparation for any type of taxes, as well as we do offer investment advice. So we try and be the full spectrum so we can help give people the best outlook on their finances and give people the best advice and make it so that they are not paying the tax man, but they are putting more in their wallet, because we want everybody to prosper from that. Because as we talk about, a lot of people don't hire an accountant, or they don't, and they think that they can do it on their own. And we've been taught that there's software and things that can do all of that for us, but that personal touch is what actually really can make a difference a lot of times. And that is what our business is all about. And that's what we try and do, is help everybody to make the best decisions. And even if it's not with us.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I've learned the hard way over the years, is that you don't know what you don't know. And for most of us, reading tax code or updated tax code or whatever changes every year, we don't, not only do we not know where to find it, we're not going to read it if we did find it. So having somebody who this is their business and this is what they do will help you in so many different ways, because you don't know what you don't know. Like if you're just doing a W-2 and just filling out a 1040 EZ or whatever, and you think that's good enough, it may or may not be. It depends on your situation. But from what I found out over the years the hard way is that pretty much I'm leaving hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on the table when it comes to taxes, because I don't know what I don't know. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be filing or not filing.
There's thousands and thousands of tax law changes every single year. And, you know, it's not just at the federal level. There are state changes. Colorado made some massive changes this year that affect a lot of people. And we've gotten to experience letters for people who did file on their own and just weren't aware of these changes, because just like you said, to try and stay in front of all of these changes, it is a massive undertaking. And when you're talking about 50 states and people who live abroad, as well as foreign nationals that are living here, I mean, there's all different types of tax situations. Same thing with local taxes. I mean, we also have new taxes in Colorado regarding allowing for a new a payroll tax that's going to help people to take time off when they are sick or injured or they're not able to go to work. And that's for smaller businesses. But these are all new tax laws, and some of them aren't even fully explained at this point, but we are implementing them. And so it's very difficult as an individual to try and, you know, make your way through all of that and make it correct and not get those penalty letters.
And I would imagine, you know, I'd imagine like all the like you mentioned, the software that comes out and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'd imagine that generally speaking, they might, you know, try their best as companies to roll all that kind of stuff into, you know, their software. But I would also imagine, you know, that there's a lot of nuances that, you know, some big box or big software box, whatever, can't necessarily pick up in terms of an individual's situation in their life with career and money and personal and family and all these other kind of things. I mean, would that be accurate?
Absolutely. That's very difficult for these software companies out there to make all of these changes with, I mean, there are states that don't have taxes, but that have state taxes, but they're, you know, for the vast majority, there's 43 states that do have state income tax. And with that, it's difficult for them to keep track of all of these state changes and to make them a lot of changes. People don't realize that's the last bill of the year a lot of times. So, you know, they're trying to throw it in on December 31st and have a usable software that's going to be able to work first part of January. And that can be very challenging for them. And there are situations where we've seen software fail. I mean, it wasn't implemented, or they didn't have enough people, or whatever the situation may be, and it's created problems. And so, I mean, that's great for our business, of course, where you get to help resolve those situations, but that's not exactly what people want to hear. They don't want to hear that their software failed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna throw myself under the bus. I've been doing, you know, Easy File for years, just because I'm, you know, most of the money, you know, but just a W-2 worker or stuff like that. Although this last year I got bumped to the next tax bracket, and talking about a huge extra, I think it was like 19% more coming out. And it's one of those things where I didn't know it at the time. It wasn't until I basically filed that it was like, hang on a second. And now I'm thinking I made a huge mistake by not finding a professional to do this, because there's got to be some sort of, you know, tax break or something else, some other deductions that I don't know anything about, especially getting bumped up in the next tax bracket like that.
Well, and that's another thing. You know, there were changes over the past 4 years. Twice they've made changes to payroll taxes, and it's caught a lot of people by surprise. There were a couple of years that we knew essentially people were going to be owing because they made them early on. You know, you try and let your clients know about this and you try and help out, but it's very difficult for people to understand early in the year, I need to make this change because otherwise I'm going to owe in April. And that's one of the things that I personally and our business is dedicated to, is we offer a mid-year checkup. We offer that to any of our clients, and we encourage them, you know, even if you are just a W-2, send it to us. We'll plug it in and we can give you an idea. It should not be a mystery. Filing taxes is not a lottery ticket. It is should be a known, or at least we should be able to come in. We are accountants, and we're, you know, very meticulous, and we generally try and be as exact as we can. So, you know, if we get your your W-2, we can project what you're going to have for your annual income. We can tell you what the tax brackets are going to be. We can tell you if you need to put more in your 401k, or if you need to put some money into an HSA, or other opportunities for you to save money, that we can reduce your tax burden.
Now, can we go back and can I give you my stuff from last year and like refile it and see if there's anything to do, or is it just dead and gone?
So there is generally 3 years that we have the ability to go back and file amendments. The state of Colorado, we can actually go back 4. So if there are changes and something we find, or you made an error, or the software made an error, that we can go back and we can amend and correct it so that you do get a refund. And in some situations, you actually get paid interest. So that's even more.
Well, I like some interest.
Right?
Come on.
Good. And actually, so one of the things that prompted me to even have this conversation was something that you just talked about, which is getting proactive in terms of, here, this is middle-ish of the year, and getting proactive in terms of what, am I on track, or should I be, socking something extra away? Somebody like me, I got, kids coming off of child support, so dependency wise, that situation is going to change, and all those kinds of nuances. And I turned 50, and I think there's some implications as to investments and all, and 401ks and all these other kind of things. And so selfishly, we need to make an appointment.
Absolutely.
I need to get in there, man.
And that's the thing about taxes is, I have clients that say, oh, mine's the same every year. And I would tell you, well, even if it is, the tax law and the opportunities change. So you turn 50. Absolutely, there are new opportunities. You're, in this case, in this situation, child support's not going to, but you are going to possibly have money freed up, so then we can talk about it. Do you want to put that into a different situation where it's saving towards retirement? So absolutely, everybody should do a checkup. This is not something that is, exclusive to wealthier or self-employed people, or, wealthy businessmen. No, everyone should talk to their tax professional more than once a year. This should not just be a one-time check-in. People like to equate us to the dentist anyway. So, you go to your dentist twice a year to get your teeth checked. So why wouldn't you go to your accountant?
Yeah, and like I said, I'm thinking in my case, I probably won't be able to claim kids, at the end of this year, kind of thing. And so all of these things change, man. And these are kind of, like I said, these are conversations that we need to have just globally. And there's other things we're going to get into here in the next few segments, but just talking about money and just not being surprised. I think, like my medical doctor once told me, like, there should not be, like, in these days, there shouldn't be too many things that are complete surprises. Like, you shouldn't necessarily drop dead from a lot of things these days. You can get ahead of a lot of things if you stay up on something like your health. So I think your financial health is something that that we need to get ahead of. Speaking of getting ahead of,
we better head ourselves into a break.
We're gonna head over to the break. We'll be right back. Mad Men of Masculinity, KLDC 1220 AM in the Mile High City. Boom. Nice. Yeah, I was totally thinking about it, man. I was like,
You led into another segment for me that's really good, because that's estate planning, and that's a big, a lot of things have changed with that. And that's something else that we, whether it's an inheritance, whether
that's exactly where one of the things I wanted to kind of talk about in terms of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, definitely want to talk about that, and maybe some investment stuff, just like kind of scratch the surface, some index funds or something that even if you don't make $100,000 a year or more, like something you can still invest in that's going to give you 10% returns. Because I keep hearing about them, but I'm like, I don't even know where to go. Where do you find these things? I want to buy some of those. I don't know.
So yeah, man, there's so many of these things, man. But like I said, I was thinking about that this year. I was like, holy crap, man, I don't get a child tax credit next year, man.
Oh, you gotta write the check.
No, man.
Get to be like me, no dependents.
No, man.
It's gonna take those millions down.
Yeah, easy. I don't think watching. I wonder about it. All right, here we go.
And we're back.
Yeah.
Mad Men of Masculinity
Uh-huh.
on KLDC.
Yep.
1220 AM in the Mile High City. And
Mhm.
today we're talking money and taxes,
That's
gentlemen,
right.
ladies.
Talk about money and taxes, man. Let's just pretend it doesn't exist.
You brought up a good point before the break. Like you're talking about, okay, your kids you're about to be an empty nester. Like, what are you going to do after the kids are gone? You don't have any dependents. Like,
Hey,
Where do you put all that money?
What are you going to do with it? You going to just bury it in the backyard?
I don't know.
You got a shoebox?
But I mean, to that point, again, it's one hand. I may not necessarily be paying child support, but I also may not be getting child tax credit, and all these other kind of things. And
hey, you know anybody that knows anything about that?
Yeah, I do. This guy, Ray, where am I pointing on? Right here. This guy we have in here, Mr. Brett Ohlen. He's my accountant man in the past. I don't know how many years I've literally probably only seen you physically. Which is that's going to change because I'm going to make this appointment here coming up to do a little checkup here. But I mean, you all have been great. I mean, like seriously, it has been 10 years, man, and you all are spot on it. I think several years ago we got like randomly audited, and y'all helped us with that, and that was phenomenal. I mean, that turned out I think better than what we could have expected, and all that other kind of stuff, man. And so again, you all have been spot on it. I've never net wise in terms of what I've never had to come out of pocket in terms of what just paying for your services. I mean, I always got back more than what I paid, way more by far than what I paid you all for my taxes. So I mean, man, you all have been great. And I just want to thank you for that.
Yeah, expect 3 years of tax returns coming back to you because you're gonna have a new client soon.
Yeah.
Tell you what.
I mean, you all have been great. So easy to work with nowadays, mostly over email and stuff. Man, it's pretty cool. And so folks need to get in and do these kind of health checkups and all these other kind of things, because as our lives change and evolve, whether it be career, whether it be personal, whether it be financial, family, all these other kind of things. I mean, these are things that we don't necessarily have to be surprised about. These are things that we could absolutely get ahead of and look at and plan. And one of the things that came up here during the break was talking about estate planning and all that, when you got kids and what to do with your money and what you think you have, what you don't have, and all those other kind of things, man. And so, I mean, what kind of stuff comes up when you sit down and talk to people about the whole concept of estate planning?
Well, one of the things that we've noticed is a lot of people who run to their attorney for estate planning, and that's encouraged. Obviously, we want you to go there to get your will or you want your trust drawn up and everything like that. But there's a tax portion to that as well. We want to make sure, I mean, tax, that's always a moving target. So estates are something that if you wrote your will 10 years ago, okay, tax law has dramatically changed since then. So you need to talk to your accountant to make sure that what was planned before is still effective today. So there's lots of different things that have changed rather dramatically. One of the big ones that we talk to a lot of people about is IRAs. It used to be that IRAs would survive, and you draw on it continuing to take what's called an RMD, or required minimum distribution, just like the person who passed away had. Now, with most IRAs, you have to have it fully depleted within a 10-year period. And there's actually a recent change this last year that if they were taking distributions, RMDs, you have to continue to take RMDs. So that had been kind of a gray area, part of the tax code. So as you can see, even after dramatic changes, there's still more dramatic changes. And unfortunately, that's the nature of taxes, is it seems like they always want more. So that's why you need to talk to your accountant and plan to try and find ways, I don't want to say around that, but legal methods of reducing the taxes that you have to pay.
Well, wait a minute, though. Can I take a step back? How do taxes and my will overlap? Like, are you talking about what I leave behind, or are you talking about if I'm in somebody else's will, or both, or like how does the whole idea of taxes and all that stuff overlap?
All the above. I mean, that is one of those situations where, so if you inherit money from a person, if it's in an IRA, you now have an inherited IRA, and in the past, you were able to take small distributions, and you could take them over a long period of time. Now that has to be fully emptied within a 10-year period. No ifs, ands, or buts. There used to be an exception for a Roth IRA, which people have heard about, which was they had already paid for the taxes, and now that has to be fully emptied within a 10-year period. So some of these benefits that we had told people over the last 15, 20 years as methods of ways to reduce passing on taxes to your beneficiaries, now that those no longer work, where we have to find new mechanisms in order to try and reduce or prevent that. The same thing with planning for your estate. There's a universal amount that is non-taxable. Lots of people like to hear about death tax, but that really only applies to a very, very, very small number of people. But that doesn't mean that we don't want to talk about gifting or how you want to leave your house. If you want to leave it as named in your will, or if you want to have a survivor on your survivor, a deed, a survivorship deed, so that there's different methods of how you want to leave that money or that property to people in your family.
So when we're talking about estates, is this one of those things where you might want to do like a trust or something that takes, at least for tax reasons, since we're on the subject of taxes, that takes basically your name and their name off of it, so to maybe create a business or a trust or a holding company or something like that helps you to alleviate a lot of the tax burden?
So trusts don't really alleviate the tax burden. A lot of people will set up what's called a living trust now, and that kind of can float into a different area of planning, where you also probably want to look up a specialist, and there are specialists regarding Medicare, because when you are working with a trust and you're working with an estate, you want to make sure that you're doing it legally, because the government can come after it and that type of thing. So that's where you have to coordinate all of this. But trusts are a legal form of protecting some of your assets. Absolutely, they're a great thing, but most trusts have changed. And once again, that's another tax law change. They used to be very favorable, but the taxes and the tax brackets for trusts now have become rather high. And so most people who do have trusts are unfortunately getting taxed at higher rates if the money is within the trust. So that, once again, even if you are in a situation where you do have a trust, you may want to talk to a tax expert who is going to help you to try and find either some sort of mechanism to try and reduce that tax.
Now, is there some benefit if trusts are changing so much, being taxed so much more? Is there some benefit to like having a holding company or some sort of like business entity that holds your property and assets outside of your name so that it's not actually tied to you, or is that kind of here?
Well, those are kind of more of a legal. You're kind of skirting on my. My expertise is tax, and that's more of a legal question as to how that would protect you and it separates you and that type of thing. But I mean, in general, if you Jason, with your millions and you have all these, thousands of properties, obviously you want to protect that so that you're not making it a target.
And so let's put this out there to the knuckleheads out there. You're obviously not giving specific advice to anybody, and
that's correct.
I mean, we're just having general conversation here. So if you're some chump out there, oh, he shouldn't do this, I'm on Brett. We're just having a conversation. All right, we're just talking general concepts. But either way, it comes back to you should have somebody in your life that is a financial health person, and I'm going to say somebody that's a tax and accounting person figure in your life. There's a whole lot of areas, whether it be filing taxes, whether it be estate planning. I mean, generally speaking, I think that's kind of the big funnel that all this falls under, is you need to be having these conversations with somebody. I'm sitting here thinking, man, I just redid my will and all that kind of stuff last year, and I didn't think at all about taxes. And, I named so-and-so in the will and all that. And I'm thinking, well, man, I wonder if I just screwed them up in some kind of way. Like, did I just stiff them with,
here's your tax bill? Congratulations.
Here you go, sucker.
Absolutely. And that is why I'm saying this. We see this, unfortunately, way too often. People come and talk to us after somebody has passed, even though they may have known about a health issue, or they may have known about, some sort of circumstance that they most likely would pass. And then they want to come to us and find out what we can do afterwards. Unfortunately, at that time, it's usually over with. And that's why I say this is, you're absolutely hitting the nail on the head, Kirk. We need to have people coming in and doing regular checkups, because You never know what the circumstance is. And yeah, I don't want you to pass a tax burden onto your children when we could have made some simple changes that would have made it so that they would have been inheriting something maybe much less a tax.
So you got a doctor, you got a dentist, you got a mechanic, you need an accountant. You need to have all 4 tires aired up. You need to have all 4 wheels rolling. And as men, a lot of times we tend to only focus on 1 or 2 of those things, and then we end up paying for it, or maybe even we don't pay for it. Maybe our family pays for it later.
And like I said, I said it tongue in cheek, but 2 things guaranteed: death and taxes. And this conversation is actually kind of spilled into both of those. And like hey, class of 1991, all of y'all are turning 50 this year. And y'all ain't getting no younger. None of us getting any younger. But either way, 73 was a great year. And now that you are growing up and you're 15, you start having conversations about your money and what to do with your money, and making sure that your money is looked out for, and as well as your loved ones. And a lot of us, our parents are getting older, and we might be listed as beneficiaries to stuff. And we need to have these conversations. A lot of us are also having kids either leave or come back. A lot of us maybe get married again or divorced again or whatever. And all these things have implications in terms of our finances. And man, we need to be having these conversations, man. We need to be having these things regularly.
Well, and even just thinking about your future generations, I know, Kirk, you're not quite there for grandchildren yet, but it comes up as well. Do you want to give gifts to your grandchildren and make it so that their college is paid for, or they have an investment account so that they can pay for a wedding or pay for their first car? Or because, if you make the investment early, it gives it a lot of time for that to grow. Interest rates are up. The market has been performing relatively well over the last decade. So these are the things that, early on, why not make a small investment that could potentially be their college tuition or a semester of it, or, those are very easy things for people to implement.
And speaking of small investments, we're going to make a small investment in a break. Then we're going to come back and talk about some of those investments because I need to know more. So we'll be right back. Mad Men of Masculinity on KLDC.
Nice. I hadn't even thought about just all that stuff.
He didn't bring up grandkids to see what his he lost more hair.
Gray over here. Technically, my oldest is about to be 27, so I'm definitely in the range.
Yeah.
Relationship wise,
Pappy Kirk.
But yeah, I got a lot of friends and classmates that are grandparents, and unfortunately, man, like I said, it's at this point, I got some that they're passing away and stuff.
Absolutely. I'm a year ahead of you, and that's the kind of the shocking thing is when you see the people that have passed away in your class.
It's crazy.
Unbelievable.
And then my grandmother, passed away earlier this year, and just watching and just that whole transition from all of her stuff into my mom's and this and that. There's so many ins and outs of all that stuff.
And I didn't want to get too detailed on the last one, but wills can be good and bad. As a tax professional, one of the least favorite tax returns that I do are estates, because unfortunately, money tends to divide families. And even though when people come in and they say that they, have a great family relationship, you'd be amazed at how many times it doesn't always happen.
Yeah, well, yeah, money in the play, it changes people. So
it does.
That's big time. We're back. We are back. We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right.
And we are on KLDC.
Yes, that's on the AM radio dial.
1220 in the Mile High City, and on the interwebs everywhere.
YouTube, Facebook,
hook us,
Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can find us.
We got all kinds of topics, man. We've talked health, we've talked wealth, relationships, man. We've had all kinds of topics about whatever. Sometimes we talk 2 men, sometimes we talk 4 men, sometimes about humanity. And today is one of those topics that really involves everybody. If you're breathing, if you listen to this, it involves you. Yeah. And so we got Brett Ohlen here in the studio. He's been my accountant for a decade. We resolved it's officially been a decade. And hey, is there like a HIPAA thing with accountants? Like, are you legally bound to some stuff?
Am I legally bound? Excuse me. I mean, I guess I would say that there is a legal. I mean, we're held to the same level. I'm licensed. Most accountants are licensed. Good accountants are licensed. So that means you're licensed either through the state, or in my case, I'm an enrolled agent, so I'm licensed by the federal government. And so by being licensed, you are held to what's called Circular 23, which is the same thing that attorneys, tax attorneys, all accountants, whether you're a CPA or an enrolled agent, we're all held to this standard. It's not only ethical, but there are lots of different rules that we have to abide by, whether it's just electronically filing, or it is disclosing information, or having certain agreements with you prior to filing tax returns. All of that kind of
So is it like an NDA, like a doctor say do no harm? Is it something like that, or?
It's more. It is to keep us from making. I mean, it's a book of rules essentially. Yeah. So we have to follow, and if we make errors, we're supposed to disclose them. We have to work in the interest of the government, but we're also hired and employed by you, so we want to work in your best interest. So we're in a kind of a weird tug of war in that situation, right. But at the same time, yeah, we're held to a higher ethical standard. We can have higher legal consequences. Absolutely.
Basically, what I want to know is are all of my secrets safe with you, man?
Your secrets are safe.
My secrets safe. I just want to know, man. I just want to make sure that that my stuff won't be hitting the internet. All my secrets that I have.
We are held to a responsibility so that we have non-disclosure statements, so that we can't disclose information. I mean, I can't talk specifically about clients, even you.
I'm just making sure, man, because you know. I mean, you
should be grateful. He's kept you indoors for 10 years.
You know, exactly. You know where everything is, all under the table stuff. You know all that kind of stuff. So I just want to make sure.
Speaking of keeping us indoors, we had talked about just before the break and kind of touched on the investments and things. And that's something I want to dig into because I keep hearing about it, and being at my age, getting, those middle years and going, maybe I should start looking at these things and look at them seriously. But I've heard about like index funds and a lot of other different stocks and bonds and things. But like to your point, things change so much.
Absolutely.
Like, where can I find, say, because they always say, compound interest is the, best invention in the world for anybody. But where do I find index funds, or where can I find where I can invest my money where it's going to compound?
Well, I'm going to take that back to where we started this whole conversation. Is you need to find a professional to help you with that.
Well, we know I need a professional.
You need professional help. That's what he's saying. We all know you need a professional.
We know
help.
that.
This is yet another form of professional help you need.
A lot of people will do internet research, and I think that that's a great mechanism, and I think it is great for starting conversations. But I think a lot of weight is placed on what's written on the internet, and I'm not saying that it's false. I'm just saying that sometimes it's not necessarily the best situation for that individual. I am a licensed financial advisor, so I have to be careful what I tell people, especially even in this situation. But you do want to hire a professional, and everybody has to go through risk profiles and has to be understood as to what is it you're looking for. Because just because you've done some research online that says that this is a great resource for you, or this is a great mechanism for you to save for retirement, quite honestly, the first thing that most people overlook is their 401k. That's the first conversation I have with people about saving for retirement is, are you maxing out your 401k? Is your 401k, people say, well, it's matching everything that my matching is allowing, but you can put, upwards of $20,000 into your 401k, depending on your age. So unless you're putting $20,000 away, that's one of the very cheapest and best places for people to start. There's other options that are places that people can put money away, and your health savings account is another one. And people talk about, well, I want to invest in the stock market and I want rates of return, but just for a simple analogy, vast majority of Americans are in the 22% tax bracket. We're in Colorado. That's another 4.5%. If you put $1 into a health savings account, you just save 26.5% if you're in the 22% tax bracket. I mean,
Wow.
that's tough to find a rate of return in the market that's going to exceed that without tremendous risk when you can just put $1 into your HSA.
And see, and a lot of that comes down to, correct me if I'm wrong, but in these kind of cases, it's, I don't know if sheltering is the right money, but basically protecting your money from the taxable, whatever you want to call it, the taxability or whatever.
You know, right? Tax code is just like any contract. It works both ways. And so there are positives within the tax code, and there are unfortunately negatives in the tax code. So that's just making sure that we are taking advantage of the positives that are in the tax code, that we can save and we can reduce our tax burden and make sure that we're getting a great rate of return. So, and those are some very simple ones that are available to most people, and I would tell you are most frequently overlooked.
Yeah, I think tax burden was the word I was looking for there. Because I mean, obviously, if I can keep more, but yet still, you know, pay would be my fair share of taxes. But ideally, you know, reduce my tax liability kind of thing. I mean, you know, and still benefit me and mine and in my future going on. I mean, that's kind of a win-win.
Absolutely, and there's still other things that people overlook. Even the one that I have seen frequently over the last couple of years is charitable contributions. Lots of people feel that since they've made some large changes to the tax code and a lot of people no longer itemize, that they shouldn't report to their accountant their charitable contributions. However, Colorado allows for you to write off the majority, all of your charitable contributions over $500. So if you forgot to give this to your accountant, I mean, it's not a huge rate of return, but that's 4.5% essentially that you have given freely to the government that you didn't need to.
What about these? What is it? The universal life insurance and some of these things I keep hearing about, where it's like you put into it, but you can actually borrow from it and put it back, and so it's a way of kind of getting around paying a lot of taxes over money that you could be using for other things.
That's correct. You can use those as a self-lending mechanism. Absolutely. And I mean, once again, you need to talk to a professional. There's all kinds of opportunities like that. And don't focus on any one thing. I mean, keep your mind open. There are lots of truths on the internet again, and there are lots of truths on the radio and everywhere else that people share. And you just have to make sure that it fits your situation.
So we got a lot of people who are entrepreneurs or considering going into entrepreneurial ventures and all that kind of stuff. For someone that would consider themselves or maybe considering taking on entrepreneurial endeavors, what kind of benefits are there tax-wise to people who do business for themselves or do, you know, some kind of entrepreneurial work? Like, what kind of things can people consider tax-wise?
Absolutely.
Write-offs or whatever you want to call it.
Starting a business is one of the easiest ways in the United States. It has been for a long time for people to become wealthy. And it is a great mechanism for rewarding yourself for your hard work. You're not, working for the man. And there are all kinds of opportunities, whether it is your health insurance, there's benefits to being self-employed in your health insurance, 401k plans or retirement plans. There are benefits to that for having your own business. And there's also credits for that as well. So, I mean, as the business continues to grow, you can offer benefits to your employees. And there's the opportunity that the government will help to defray some of that cost or give you a credit to help defray some of that cost. So absolutely, those are opportunities for anybody who's looking at starting a business. Once again, talk to your accountant early. It's much easier to help you on the front end of starting a business than it is on the back end. And sadly, taxes are one of the things that I think most business people who are very good business people, they go start a great business. They work at it very, very hard, and they forget that the tax man is part of that picture. And so, unfortunately, they get themselves either into trouble, and then it becomes a burden. It's just a continuous burden. So that's why, if you're even considering that, you need to talk to your accountant before you start your business.
Yeah, you hear that? The tax man cometh.
Oh, yeah.
He's
The
coming.
tax man comes.
No doubt. If I'm in business for myself, let's say, for example, there are a lot of people out there that are coaches or authors and all these other kind of things.
Radio personality.
Radio personalities. There's some of those out there as well. When if there are people out there that do that kind of stuff, maybe there's a lot of real estate people, like real estate agents and all those kinds of people who, out there, driving their cars, they're working from home, they're doing, they're using their personal stuff to make money and all these other kind of things. Are there unique nuances for people who are, I'm going to use the word solopreneurs, but people who are in business, not necessarily a storefront, but I do work for myself, and here's what I do, and I use my personal resources to do those. Are there certain considerations that those people have that regular, W-2 employees don't have?
Absolutely. That's where I was saying, early on, I was saying that the tax code is just like any contract. It's written so that it has benefits and it has unfortunate bad consequences as well. But excuse me, there are opportunities within the tax code that you as a self-employed person. So if your company has a conference and it's in Florida, absolutely, you get to travel to Florida and you can write those things off. There are opportunities that people design their businesses around so that they get to have some benefit from it. Absolutely. The code has some specific rules regarding all of that. So obviously you can't go on, the most expensive trip and just write it off. But there are absolutely opportunities within the tax code so that people can utilize their business and have some, I guess I would call them fringe benefits, or some opportunities where they would be able to write off things that us as normal W-2 employees would not be able to take that as an opportunity.
He's calling us normies.
Yeah.
Yeah, calling us normies. So I don't want to be a normie anymore. I want to get out there and start saving and doing things that will minimize my tax burden and make sure I can maximize my savings and things like that. So basically what I'm hearing is if I want to do all those things, I need professional help.
Absolutely. I cannot emphasize that enough. Professionals, this is my job. People always ask, what do you do in the summer? That's what I'm here for. I'm here.
Yeah, what do you do on April 16th?
Celebrate. After that, yes, then we have to get back to work.
I know for a fact that you take time off.
I do take
I'm trying to get a hold of you on April 16th.
Yeah, no, he saw your call. He just ignored it. He's like, no.
That's what it was. I'm done with you, man. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Don't call me for 6 more months.
Yeah. Although there have been a couple of times where I filed the extension and I didn't, ended up filing, was it October 15th?
Oh, yes. That's what's coming up. That's why, we've talked about getting a checkup. Don't call on April 15th. Don't call on October 15th. So, you have your windows of when people can help you and give you the best advice. Absolutely utilize it.
So then what's the good time of year to do those checkups in?
July, August, November, December.
So you got 16 more days in August if you're watching this live to get in.
Absolutely. Give us a call.
That is fantastic stuff, man. All right, let's play a quick game.
Okay.
Can I do that?
Good.
We got 2 minutes for this next break.
Okay.
Maybe 3. So Brett, I just won the $1.5 billion Powerball Mega Millions. What should I do?
Hide.
Run and hide.
Call your attorney. That's the first thing I would generally tell people. But yes, you need to absolutely start seeking some professional advice. Unfortunately, for most people like that, it's such a life-changing event that you kind of have to leave a lot of your life behind, unfortunately, because that is such a life-changing event. But every person is different. I am a very different financial advisor, and I usually talk to people about some of that is you do want to enjoy, but at the same time you also probably want to leave a legacy. So you need to. That's where you want to talk about how am I going to plan this and what am I going to do with it. You want to make sure that it's going to last at least your lifetime, and let's hope that you don't blow, $1.5 billion. But we want to make sure that it's earning, and whether that means buying businesses or real estate, or there's all different types. Each person is different, and that's where I believe it's Warren Buffett who said, "Invest in what you know." So it's very difficult to tell people what to invest in, because if you're good at real estate, you should probably invest in real estate. If you're good at opening businesses, maybe you should open some more businesses. If you want to set it and forget it, maybe stocks and bonds, or a CD or an annuity. There's all different types of opportunities for people, and it all stems back to you need to have the right professional for you at that time.
And so let's be real. If I just won a $1.5 billion Powerball, probably not
You
good at
better
real.
call
I'm
me.
probably not good at real estate. I'm probably not heavily involved in none of that kind of stuff. I might be hanging out with Warren Buffett at some point soon, but none of that kind of stuff. And so if I won that much, I'm not getting that much, right? Taxes are going to come out before all that, right?
Unfortunately, you end up with just as a ballpark number about 40%. So after the cash payout, which is and then the taxes on top of that, you unfortunately only get about 40% of that. So as crazy as it sounded, on that 1.6 billion, I think it may have been a little bit higher, but I want to say it was like 700 and something $million.
Oh, man,
that
what
all?
to do with that, man?
That
Come
all?
on, man,
make life
What
changing.
a
Now we're eating top ramen again. What the heck?
man.
Jeez.
I got to reduce my Hulu membership after that, man.
Right?
I got to get the one with the commercials.
I'm telling you what, well, speaking of winning the lottery and disappearing, time for us to disappear on a break.
Last break. Mad Men of
Jackpot.
Masculinity, KLDC 1220 AM. We'll be right back.
Boom.
Yeah, that's
Buy a
when.
lottery ticket.
Oh, I bought a few. You'll know when I win because it'll be just like poof.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd Jason go?
Where'd he go?
Yeah.
I'll be on Kata Beach in Thailand, changing my name, changing my social security number, like faking my death.
Can you change their social security number?
Yep.
Or no.
No, that is a very. I've been told it can happen, but unfortunately, I have been told also that that's how a lot of criminals do get found. Who end up, getting some sort of protection or whatever.
Right. Yeah. When they go on witness protection, they got to change everything. I'm gonna put myself in witness protection.
No.
I to my knowledge,
Lotto protection.
I've never had a person in witness protection, but once again, I don't know.
Have you ever had anybody win the lottery?
I have. I've had 3 clients who have won.
What? Oh, I'm due, man. Oh, yeah, I'm due. If I hit the lottery, there'll be probably 1 or 2 people that'll know you'll be one of them.
We've had some interesting clients as well over my 25 years of doing it, but it's always amazing. You meet every type of person. So
Wow, man, that
sounds fun. Let's bring that up in the last segment.
absolutely.
And we're back.
Correct.
Mad Men of Masculinity,
On KLDC
1220
AM.
in the Mile High.
City.
That's right, and we're on the interwebs
Everywhere.
We did that without even planning. That's why we just roll.
See, we've been hanging out way too much.
So if I for sure hit the lotto,
Peace out.
man,
You ain't never gonna hear me again.
You better call me.
there'll be like a couple people that'll
Bill's
know.
coming.
There'll be a couple people that know. First of all, I mean, I heard that like you shouldn't quit your job right away and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. There'll be a couple people that'll know, and this guy right here will be one of them. Because they'll be like, "Hey, I'm peacing out." First of all, second of all, I need to get my ducks in a row, man. I need to get my poop in a group, and you're gonna be one of the people that helps me sort that out. You were saying that you've actually had multiple people hit the lottery that you do taxes for.
That is correct. We have had multiple
Dude,
clients
man.
that have won the lottery.
He's the lucky accountant. I'm telling you,
the leprechaun
he's a
accountant.
lucky accountant. You too tall to be a leprechaun. But apparently you're the lucky accountant. There's no guarantees. We're just saying he's up to 3 right now. So
That's a lot.
that's a lot.
That's got to be more than average. Let me tell you.
Which actually brings up a question, though. I mean, would you be able to say ballpark? Like, what's the average income of people who use your services, who go to a tax? Because again, I think a lot of people might think, well, I got to have a lot of money to work with, to go to an accountant or anything like that, or
I've been waiting until
bracket and all this other kind of stuff. I need to just stick with so and so software. But like, what would you say? Because we were talking about like the average golf game is not what people think it is, right?
Yeah,
So,
I've been waiting until I was making over 6 figures before I'm like, oh, I need an accountant, I need a tax professional, stuff like that. But
what's your take on that?
I would tell you that's bad advice. So people believe that we are unaffordable. In the end, your accountant is going to help you to make much more money than it's costing you. you will never meet a rich person and a wealthy person who doesn't have an accountant that they can call, whether it's speed dial or that they have their ability to talk to. If they were in a situation where they're going to have another opportunity to make more money, absolutely, they call their accountant. So I have people that make poverty level $10,000 that we help, and we help with finding mechanisms of helping them to either get benefits or what's available to them, or what there are all different types of opportunities. And absolutely, that's what we're there for. That's why we are called Advocate Tax. We are there to advocate for them. And there are people that we have that make millions of dollars. Absolutely.
But you said you weren't going to tell my business, man.
Hey,
Thought you said that.
Right?
Yeah.
We'll keep that under lock.
Nice.
But I would tell you the average person is what you would think the average person. I mean, it's the normal. We have everything from brand new husband and wife who just moved to Colorado from out of state, and they need somebody to help them, whether or all the way to people who have lived here for generations. Their incomes vary from literally almost nothing to millions of dollars. Every person can benefit from having a good tax accountant, and they can advocate for them in one way or another, whether it is, even if it's not finding if you're so simple that there's nothing that I can do for you, maybe you need a painter for your house. Maybe you need a new dentist. Maybe your kids need a babysitter. As a person who works with thousands of people, I have the opportunity to refer people to you. And, I know their situation. I know if they're a good person that's a painter, or they're a good roofer, or, I can see all of that. I get to see their books. I know everything about them. So it's amazing the relationship as an accountant that you find everything out about everybody, because you know which children are on drugs and are getting treatment, which kids are getting pregnant, they're getting divorced, they're getting married, every situation of everybody's household. And so I always say it's about half therapy, half accountant, because you get to hear a lot of these stories. But absolutely, that's part of the whole picture. If I'm going to give you great advice, I have to know the whole picture.
He's more in the know than the priest in the confessional, man.
Yeah.
He knows everything. So playing devil's advocate,
You
for
know
a
the
minute,
money, so yeah,
well,
absolutely.
That's definitely usually a good indication of where somebody's kind of general health. It's like, how's their money doing? But
Right.
playing devil's advocate for a minute, because I'm asking for a friend. I know this guy who has had bankruptcies and wage garnishments and things like that. Are these things that you can help, that if somebody's going to go through this, like, they should probably talk to you first, I'm assuming?
Absolutely. That's, once again, there's lots of good advice out on the internet, but I think that a personal approach and having somebody truly on your side rather than just information is what being a good accountant is all about. I'm here to help and teach you to make the right decisions. Whether you make them or not, that's up to you. But as a good accountant, my job is to try and steer you to make the best financial decisions. I can't necessarily give you marital advice or.
I think to me, that is probably one of the bigger benefits of having an accountant on your personal team. Again, you have a doctor, you should. You have a dentist, you should. Depending on what you might be going through in life, you might have an attorney, you should, and
Absolutely.
definitely a lot of things. And, you should have a good golf buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should.
You need a mechanic.
You need a mechanic. You need an accountant. And in this case, again, from a personal perspective, it's not, paying some kind of fee to some software. And it's being able to call somebody and say, hey, man, can I come sit down and talk to you about this? Can we look ahead through this next year? And actually having a human being to get proactive on a lot of things, especially as life changes and you go through whatever you go through in a year. I think.
And if you're new to town, or if you're like, divorce or separation, and your wife's going to go to that accountant, okay, you might not want to go to that accountant. So go interview. That's very important as well. I tell people you should come and talk to me, because if we're going to be a good fit, we're probably going to be a good fit for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you get along with them, and that they're maybe, whether it's the same political or the same social values, all of that comes into play as to whether or not they're going to be the right fit for you. So you want to make sure that you are absolutely comfortable telling them your life story and everything, your whole financial picture, your whole tax picture, your family picture, what's going to change?
So basically, we need a second opinion. We need to go interview several and not just go pick up the first one. We saw the flyer on the telephone pole. It said free accountants.
Absolutely.
Probably want to get a second opinion.
Probably.
So you're saying that billboard at the urinal, I probably shouldn't just go for that guy.
That's probably
That's creative marketing, but
it is creative marketing, but it may not be necessarily your top choice, but you may want to find out what they do have to offer.
Which is funny because women have no idea that men in restrooms and all that
Read
kind of
while
stuff.
we're going to the
We have
absolutely.
billboards at urinals in bathrooms. Women have no idea. They don't know that exists. That's why we go to the bathroom by ourselves, because we got stuff to do while we.
don't be talking to me. I'm reading.
We got to read the billboard, because you can't look left or right when you're at a
No.
urinal. You better not do that. Man card revoked instantly, man.
Got to leave a gap too.
Yeah, you got to make sure. So so we're not going to call the guy on the unless it's Brett. We're not going to call the guy on the urinal bill. But you don't have any urinal billboard.
No, we do not do that. Unfortunately.
Yeah, you got bus stop billboards.
No, we
Okay.
really our business has been built through word of mouth.
That's always a good sign.
Well, let me give you some words through this mouth, man. I highly recommend. I mean, you, like I said, man, for the last decade, you guys have been great. I mean, absolutely fantastic. And I have not one year had any issues or regrets or anything like that. I mean, you all have helped through random audits, all these other kind of things. You're super responsive, all that. And so, yeah, I mean, just I just appreciate you and everything that you've done. So this has been great.
Yeah, and I appreciate you keeping him fed and indoors so we can keep doing this.
Yeah,
'cause
absolutely.
Sometimes I worry. I'm like, you got how many kids and what's going on and what's happening? It's
So
crazy
Brett,
now.
so when I do have on my taxes, the radio, when you see all that kind of stuff, it's true. Like, I'm not making all this, I'm doing this stuff.
Absolutely.
When you see like book publishing, it is real. Like, I'm doing it on a website. So, you can say all that. Hey, do you ever get like called in on like court cases, anything like that?
So I am not I guess I would say I'm not qualified.
No, I mean, like if somebody is,
witness, yes, there are absolutely accountants get called in for that. I have not. But,
so who's on the hook? Is it the person or is it you for somebody's taxes being filed?
So the short answer to that is the individual. When you sign your tax return, there is a line on that says, under perjury, I'm signing that this is an accurate tax return. So as the professor, I'm helping to prepare it, and I'm saying that I'm attesting that the information that you gave me, I accurately prepared the return, but that's not saying that you didn't.
Basically, you're signing a name. You better trust whoever's doing your taxes, because
that is correct.
You're signing saying I agree.
I didn't know if that was who's what legally binding on all that kind of stuff, man. That's kind of
it's all on you.
Unfortunately, it's all on you. Yes, and that's the short of it.
Wow.
Well, since it's all on us,
yeah,
we hope that you have enjoyed this final episode, because our taxes are coming due. No, I'm just kidding.
Easy.
No, but thank you so much.
I got Brett on my side, man. I'm safe, man.
Brett's about to be on my side. He's about to get a basket full of receipts and not know what to do with them. So,
and actually, as another, since we got like another minute here, what's the like? Do people send you a shoebox worth of receipts, or do they like? I'm pretty easy there because all my stuff is in a spreadsheet.
Yours is.
So I got to be pretty easy, man.
I've trained you well.
You have, man. I got to be.
That's all part of it. But yes, I have a Huggies box in my office as we speak.
Nice. And do you
so you're supposed to keep receipts, is what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Whoops.
Yeah, see.
You need that's the documentation. Unfortunately, that's what the IRS wants to see.
Nice. I got receipts, but I just realized, man, I make it real easy on y'all, man.
You do. It's a lot of years of training.
Nice.
He's well trained.
He's well trained. So if somebody is out there, if somebody's listening to this right now, and they really want to get in touch with you, first of all, how much are you going to charge somebody to like call you and just have a conversation?
Well, we start at $1 million.
Nice. So Powerball only.
Okay.
No, we always give a free half-hour consultation to anyone. Because once again, we want to make sure that it's a good fit for everybody. And so after that, we will talk about what our fees. We're very upfront about our fees. We do our very best to keep everything family, and we're a family business, so we understand what it's like to pay for people, pay for professionals, and we try and flat fee everything. So we don't like to be able to bill you hours and hours. We want to have it so that it's reasonable and people can afford it.
So super quick, how does somebody get a hold of you if that's the case?
We do have a website, advocatetaxworldwide.com. That is our website. We also have a local office that is right out of Jewel and Wadsworth.
Used to be right around the corner from here.
It did used to be around the corner. We had 2 offices, and it did make it convenient for a lot of people, but we're down to 1 office. And we also, you can contact us. We have a connection on our website that's tax@advocatetaxww.com, or our phone number is 303-755-0883.
Nice. Awesome. Good stuff, man. Like I said, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you, the work you guys done, and thank you for your stuff here, man. Maybe, hopefully we can have you back one day, man, and
Thank you so
get
much
into some deeper topics, man.
Absolutely.
Some stuff that's coming up, and since you got nothing to do between now and
Exactly.
October, and then again nothing to do until like
Maybe we can
April.
golf.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
maybe we can go.
Well, I'm gonna keep him busy. I got 3 years to get back.
He's got
be
some
done.
huggy
I got
shoe
some work.
boxes.
Right.
What are receipts? I need some help. I need some professional help. Well, speaking of professional help, we are your Mad Men of Masculinity professionals. We are your home for healthy masculinity, and we love y'all. And remember, we're here for you. Peace.
Mad Men
out.